Welcome to the Game Sense Football Podcast. I'm Ewan, and with me is Nas.
Hi, guys.
In today's episode, we attempt to break down the Swiss model. Finally. Finally, no more Man United focused episodes. Okay, guys, so you can continue listening so that you can get a better understanding of what the hell is happening in Europe right now and what European football is doing to your team this season.
Yes.
Perhaps, this will help you enjoy the games a little bit more. Who knows? And of course, before we begin, if you enjoy our content, do consider subscribing to our podcast. We greatly appreciate your support. And remember, also check us out on Instagram at GameSenseFootball. So Nas, today let's try something a little bit different.
Okay.
I'm going to put you through a series of seemingly irrelevant quick-fire questions just to get us warmed up.
I'm afraid.
All right?
Go on.
Don't worry. Right. When you travel, do you prefer natural landscapes or urban beauty?
Natural landscapes.
Natural landscapes. That's nice. So, okay, what's the capital of Switzerland?
I should know this. Bern? No.
Bern is correct.
Oh, it's correct.
Yes, congrats on that. Okay, now what are the 4 official languages of Switzerland?
English, German, Italian, and French.
Wrong.
No.
German, Italian, and French are correct, but English isn't. So it is Romansh.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. No idea how that sounds like, to be honest. Cheese or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Swiss Army knives or watches?
Oof. Watches.
Food or football?
Football.
Okay. Shaqiri or Shaka?
Oh. Shaqiri.
And what is the name of Switzerland's national carrier?
Swiss Air?
Well, my answer is the Federal Express.
Okay.
And no, I do not have a proper answer for this question.
It sounds like the weirdest personality test ever.
So it's a series of random questions that I came up with when I was in the toilet.
Okay, good to know.
So, I don't think it's a secret that we are talking about the Swiss model today, Swiss model for the Champions League. But before we go into that, I think there are some news in the footballing world that maybe we would like to talk about.
Yeah, so you just mentioned we're not going to do a Man United episode, but I think one of the big headlines today, as we record, is the Man United Exco had a meeting. It was apparently a regularly scheduled monthly meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of attention was placed on this meeting because maybe Eric Ten Hag's job might have been on the line, but seems that the meeting has come and gone and his position is still, I wouldn't say secure, but he still has a bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been reading, they don't really want to sack him. And I think a large part of it is because, they have to pay him 17 million pounds.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's one of the reasons, right? I mean, it will definitely severely affect their financial fair play, PSR, whatever you call it.
Yep. And I guess, like we have debated many times at length, sacking him probably isn't going to solve most of the issues. Maybe.
Probably not when, a strong candidate for the position is actually Gareth Southgate. Yeah.
I saw a mall the other day here called Southgate Mall. Quite interesting. More interesting than the manager, probably.
There's a very good chance of that, yes. All right. So in other news, whatever his first name is, Bajiristan leaving Man City.
Trixie, something.
Chiki,
something.
Whatever.
I could never pronounce it, but yeah, he's the sporting director at Man City.
Yes.
One of the key personnel that helped convince Pep Guardiola to join Man City. He's leaving City at the end of the season.
Yes. So hopefully Man City will be weakened by this. We can always hope.
We can hope, yeah.
Andre Iniesta, the legend himself, retiring.
Yep. So he announced his retirement. Was it yesterday? A couple of days ago.
I think I saw the Messi post like yesterday, but it might have been 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Iniesta retiring, kind of sad, but he's been around a long time, glittering career. I've always thought
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit of a shame that obviously he was part of probably the best team ever, the 2008-ish Barca team.
Mm.
And basically because of the existence of Messi in the team and Ronaldo at Real, Iniesta never won a Ballon d'Or. And I always felt he more than deserved it.
Yeah. He retired in Japan, right?
I I thought he did, but apparently he's been playing in the UAE.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, they probably pay better in the UAE anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And finally, there was this piece of news of a Valencia fan
Mm-hmm.
from Spain who was on a honeymoon with his wife in Singapore,
Mm.
right? And of course, who owns Valencia Football Club? Singaporean Peter Lim.
Peter Lim.
And he's not well liked there, right? He's not
Yes.
well liked. He hasn't been doing very well for the club. And they have this campaign to, basically tell Lim to go home, right? So there's
Mm.
this like banners that they always flash out, Lim go home.
Yeah.
This this guy decided to come to Singapore for his honeymoon
Mm.
and to actually find Lim's home.
Mm.
Stood outside there
Yeah.
with the banner Lim go home. He was duly arrested.
Yeah. He
And
he he pasted a sticker or the banner on the door or something, right?
yeah, so he was duly arrested. He had his passport confiscated.
Mm.
And now he's like awaiting charges, I suppose.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in court in the next couple of days in Singapore.
Yes, yes.
I think he's also going to be charged with vandalism for putting the sticker on the door. It's kind of petty, but
It's a bit of a, yeah, well,
yeah,
read the
well,
rules next time before you do something.
yeah, it's a memorable honeymoon at least.
Indeed, indeed.
Mm.
Okay, on to our Champions League or Europa League or whatever. Swiss model chat.
Swiss
Swiss
model,
model
yes.
chat. Yes, so it applies to all of the European competitions
Mm.
this year onwards till 2027. I guess they
Yes.
are now it's like the beta testing
Yeah,
period.
3 year cycle.
Do you, do you know why it was called the Swiss model?
Based on a chess tournament system, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Basically, the chess system, this tournament system was first implemented in Switzerland, which is how it got its name, sometime in the late 19th century, I believe, where players would play in a round robin competition without everybody actually playing each other.
Yeah. Cool. Quite interesting because it was, like you said, it was first done in Switzerland. Chess has a weird thing where chess openings and strategies are usually very often named after the city or country where it was first done, or most famously done, like the London systems and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that it's not actually a Swiss model
Mm,
because in a traditional exact Swiss model, like it's being done now, not everybody plays each other, but the games, the matches, the matchups are determined match by match based on the outcomes of the previous match. So let's say the first
yes.
round is Team A versus Team B, and Team A wins. Team A's second match will be against someone else who did win their first match. That's the
Yes,
Swiss model.
yes, correct. So basically it's a lot more dynamic. Every round, you do not know who you're going to play in the next round until all results are
Yeah.
settled. Then they will decide. Yes,
For the
from there on.
true Swiss model. For this one, obviously there was a big draw. Everybody knows who they're playing, exactly when, where. But yeah, so 36 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Each team plays 8 games against 8 different opponents, and the top 8 teams go through to the knockout stage.
Yes.
The next 16 teams go to a playoff stage,
Yeah.
and the last 8 are eliminated. So those middle 16 play each other again, and then from the 16, another 8 meet the top 8 from earlier, and that's your knockout stage.
That is correct. And to add on to that, in the 8 games that each team plays, 4 will be at home and 4 will be away.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned us, so 9th place to the 24th place will have to play 2 more playoff games. I think one home, one away.
Yeah.
Before 8 will be knocked out from that 16. So the surviving 8 will join the first 8 teams in the round of 16 knockout stage. And in case you're wondering, as I mentioned earlier, Europa League and the Conference League are also following the same format.
Yes.
And again, in case you're wondering, which you may not be, but Man United are 21st in the Europa League right now,
Yeah.
having drawn against both FC 20 and Porto.
It's a lot of hassle to eliminate very few teams. So 8 of 36 go through, and of the next 24, next 16, sorry, another 8 go through.
Mm,
After 144 games, only 12 teams are eliminated.
16 teams, right?
No, so 144 to get, it's 144 league group stage games before that playoff stage. So that's a lot of football. In the old format, it was 96 games to eliminate 16 teams.
Yeah, I mean, collectively it's a lot of games, and actually individually as clubs they play more games as well.
Yeah.
Right. So in the old format you have your group stage of 4 teams each, so you play 6 games in the group stages. Now you're playing 8 games minimum.
Yes.
If you are lucky enough to be in the 9th to 24th place,
Lucky.
then you play another 2 more games, so that's 10 games just to get into the knockout.
Yeah, total number of games in the Champions League now will be 189 versus 125 from how it was before. So in an era where everyone is complaining that players are playing too much, this is kind of silly to me.
Like, Rodri famously recently said that players like almost wanting to go on strike already.
Yep. And
And
then he gets
immediately
injured.
after he said that he got injured.
Yep. It's very obvious why they changed this format, because basically it's pressure from the top clubs on UEFA, because the top clubs, even though their players play too much, the clubs themselves want more games because they get more broadcasts and merchandise and matchday revenue the more games they play, especially if those games are deemed to be top tier games. And in this new format, because like you said, previously it was the 32 teams that qualified for the Champions League would be split into 4 pots, right? Based on their coefficient, their relative ranking and strength. So each group would have 1 team from each pot. And so you would almost never have too many big mega team clashes until the knockout stage. In this format, each team plays at least two others who are more or less at their level.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So clubs are kind of controlling, the narrative right now in football competitions. They want more money. So, UEFA kind of just, sure, here's the thing. And also, I think in part, UEFA are a little bit afraid that another Super League fiasco may arise once again.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like for example, we look at Bayern this season Champions League. They will play Barcelona and PSG. I mean, they lost to Villa the other day. But in the old format, they would never play both Barca and PSG in the group stage.
That's right. That's right. So that's part of the guarantee of 2 matches against teams of the same pot, basically. On the flip side, the lower ranked teams will also end up playing some other lower ranked teams.
Yes.
So there's actually a greater chance of them performing better in the competition as well.
Yes, correct. And so those supposed lower ranked teams are also guaranteed games against a couple, at least 2 big teams. However, they're not guaranteed home games against those teams anymore. That's also one consideration.
So gate receipts might not go to them.
Yeah, let's say you're Dinamo Zagreb, who and this year they play Barcelona, I think, or Bayern, one of them. But they play them away, so there is no home game where Zagreb plays Barcelona for them to benefit from the gate receipts.
Yep.
To me, the issue is what I said earlier, where there's a lot of games to eliminate only 33% of the field. And because of that, inevitably, a lot of games will feel very low jeopardy because there's a lot of chance to go through. You don't need to finish, you don't need to win so many games. In fact, Opta simulated the entire league table 50,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And in 98% of the time, 16 points was enough to guarantee 8th place.
16
So again,
points
16
in
points
8 games.
is a decent run. So that's 5 wins and a draw from 8 games. That's good, right? So 2
Yep.
losses. But
Yep.
73% of the time, you could get through with only 15 points.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, in fact, with 10 points, you're guaranteed top 24. So you could win 3, lose, draw 1, and lose half your games and still go through.
Yep. Yep. So, this is kind of like a lot of effort, but not very productive effort.
Yeah. And the games themselves, like Man United have drawn 2 that ranked 23rd now. They still have a very good chance of going through. That's the Europa League, of course, but the math is the same because it's the same format.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the whole probability is the same.
Yeah. So for example, right, looking at the Champions League, this big messy group table as it stands today,
Mm-hmm.
Inter, Arsenal, Bayern, Barca, Real, PSG, Atletico are all between 9th to 24th. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there still isn't that much jeopardy because Arsenal are on 4 points after 2 games. If they draw every single game from here on out, they'll still probably go through.
Yeah, and it must be pointed out that, of course, there have only been 2 games played right now.
Yeah.
So first place, which is occupied by Dortmund, 6 points. That's only 2 points ahead of where Arsenal is in like what 10th plus position, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and surprisingly, second is Stade Brestois,
Yes.
which is why I had to mention the name, because I mean they're second. I mean, seriously.
Benfica,
Yeah. So
and then Benfica and Leverkusen
yeah,
make up the top 4.
yeah, Dortmund, Brest, Benfica, Leverkusen.
Hmm.
Amazing.
If you say Borussia Dortmund and Bayer Leverkusen, the top 4 all start with
All
B.
Bs.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. The like you mentioned, the teams that are behind in 9th to 24th, they are a varying bunch of 4 and 3 point teams,
Yes.
which it's not that far away, from first.
In fact, PSV who are 24th have 1 point.
Yeah, so it waits to be seen. How useful this new format would be, but it doesn't look great from the outset right now.
Yeah, like it's just having more glamour ties early in the competition means nothing if winning the tie itself doesn't amount to much in the long run, right? Like, okay, so Barca play Bayern and Bayern win, for example, but they both are not in any jeopardy of going on anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, so not great, not great so
Eh,
far.
yeah,
Doesn't look
and you know one
fantastic.
other thing that annoys me because obviously a lot of things annoy me, right? But
Yeah,
the
sure.
the last match day of this group stage is in January, and I feel like in a competition where there is a group stage and a playoff, a knockout, the last match day of the group stage should be before the turn of the year.
I mean, I would say it should be before the holiday break at the
Yeah,
very least, right?
before the Christmas winter break. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of cliffhanger-ish to leave it just like
yeah.
that before the holiday break
And
and
and,
coming
and
back
the
in
worst thing
January.
is by then there might be a lot of dead rubber games.
Did rubber games, a little loss of interest as well, in all the games from fans
Yeah,
potentially as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's a very strange thing. I saw a comment. Somebody said it's the Europa League, not Europa, sorry, it's the Super League via stealth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, when was it? 2021, where a lot of the big European clubs came together and announced they were going to do a European Super League, and football collectively lost its shit, as they should have done.
Yep.
I know there are some people who believe a Super League is a good idea, and I think we could discuss it a bit later. But uh, long term, and there were a lot of wide ranging ramifications which would have come about by this, and this new format basically giving teams more games, giving teams more supposed glamour ties, was a way, like you said, to appease the big boys who wanted,
Mm-hmm.
who it's exactly what they wanted. You know, the strange thing is, I've only found out today that there is this Chilean fella by the name of Leandro Shara.
Okay.
He copyrighted this exact system format in 2006. And he has been petitioning to UEFA to adopt it since 2013. And UEFA kept saying no. And now they did this, and he's suing them for copyright infringement.
Oh, wow. Okay. How hard is it to just acknowledge that the guy, the system was conceived by that guy?
Yeah, exactly. So literally, he said that all he wanted was them to acknowledge that his team presented them this idea and they wanted to be part of the draw, but that didn't happen. So the case is still ongoing.
Unnecessary lawsuits.
Yeah, well, UEFA has a lot of money.
Indeed.
Yep.
Yes. So, in summary,
Hmm.
Swiss model, number one, named after a chess tournament.
Hmm.
Number two, 32 teams in the league table, 8 qualify automatically, whereas the next 16 will have playoffs, a home and away, against each other to whittle down that number to 8 again. So that's first 8 plus this 8 in the round of 16.
Yes.
So in this system, each team will play 8 matches, 4 home, 4 away, all against different opponents.
Yes. So nobody has the same fixture list, in fact. So
Yes, and
there will be some teams with notably easier or harder fixture lists.
yeah, in some ways it sounds a little bit unfair, but I think it's, to be fair, it's pretty similar to, how you get lucky in your group draws as well,
Yeah, but I guess in the group, you're ranked against other teams playing against the teams you play against as well.
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Yeah.
You can think about how, incongruent everybody's fixtures will be compared to each other.
Yeah.
So there's
And
another argument to be had, I guess. But
yeah,
it's very difficult to work out chances like that without a computer. Maybe Opta will do something about that.
yeah. In fact, they have. So they've given every team a team ranking, and the team with the easiest fixture difficulty is Celtic, Bayern second, Dortmund third. The teams with the hardest ones is PSG, Slavia Prague, and Liverpool.
Huh.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a lot in it. PSG notably have a very hard draw, and Celtic has a slightly easier draw than Bayern, for example. But Celtic just got bumped 7-1. So
Yeah.
yeah. Also worth noting that nobody will drop into the Europa League.
Yep. So after 8 games, if you get eliminated, you get eliminated.
This also means that the Europa League winner will never be able to defend their crown
Ah.
because they qualify for the Champions League and they can't drop back in
They
to the
can't go
Europa
back
League.
down.
No more Sevilla three-peat.
All right. So stay tuned. We will come back after the break with a little bit more of Swiss model stuff and a little bit of shenanigans. So stay tuned. A warm welcome back, everyone. And now it's that time of the episode for shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Okay.
So what do you have for us today, Nas?
Again, as we're episode number 33, it's not a Man United episode, but I'm going to stick to the Man United theme for this segment. The last 2 episodes, we've talked about people like Bastian Schweinsteiger and Carlos Tevez.
Yep.
This week, it's a bit less stellar. So, episode 33. Some names include Brandon Williams,
Brendan Williams.
Paddy McNair,
Okay.
Bebe, Paul
Bebe.
Rachupka, Chris Eagles. Not That's literally the best
Wow.
of the bunch. Not
Wow.
great, I know.
Wow.
Anything to say about those?
Uh, Brendan Williams still has no club.
Yeah, Brandon Williams is the most recent one.
Yeah.
I've always have had mixed feelings about Brandon Williams. Like he was always a bit of a limited left back. He's right footed, right? Right, but he plays
Yes,
left
he's a
back.
right-footed left back.
He's always like very average. Once in a while, plays very well. And for a long time, I thought that wasn't good enough. But looking at the state of United now, I'm like, at least that would be a left back.
We need a left back. We need
Yeah,
a left back. Yes, that's
he
right.
was on loan Norwich and somewhere else, and he did quite well. Is he clubless?
He was released in the summer,
Hmm,
and he is apparently still clubless.
interesting. I told you the story of my Chris Eagles story in FM, right?
The one where he went to the Singapore League.
SCFFC.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So when I looked at this list, I'm like, oh, Chris Eagles, my old friend.
your old friend. So I guess he would be your favorite player in this list.
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. So that's Shenanigans 33. Next week will be 34. It would be quite something.
It would be quite something. Okay, can't wait for that. All right, so back to the Swiss model. So what do
Mm.
you think, Nas? It doesn't sound like you like it very much. I don't like it very much either.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I'm all for having more games to watch, but the games have to be good. And like we mentioned before, talking about Rodri and all,
Hmm.
players already play too many games as like before this change, players were already playing too many games, they were already tired,
Yep.
getting too many injuries. So the quality, the intensity, the consistency, all isn't there. And now there's more games, so that'll be worse. Plus, the games don't actually matter as much anyway. So the product is not going to be better. It's just a worse product.
It's probably not going to be better. I agree. But
Yeah.
what is going to be better, you think?
Yeah, so honestly, I've always thought the old existing model, which worked for a long time, which has been used for a long time, you have groups of four, top two
Mm,
qualify. That's it. And have it either 16 or 32 teams, where it's 4 or 8 groups, top two qualify straight into a final 8 or final 16. That's easy. No nonsense where best third place team and stuff like that. No, just top two.
yeah. That was a pretty good system in terms of, balancing, having a little bit more games versus keeping the excitement of football there as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then every team plays every other team twice, so that even the small teams get the glamour tie of a big team at home. You you get the narrative of a team. Let's say you're a small team and you manage to draw or beat a big team at home, and then you go to their stadium after that in a few weeks after that. There's a sort of revenge narrative and all, which you'll never get now unless you get the
Yeah.
luck of the draw and you get a result in the league stage, and then down the line meet them in a knockout.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what format I like? I would
Mm.
like a straight knockout. It's like a
Honestly,
like a
yeah,
cup competition. That's
yeah,
the most exciting, I would say.
correct. So if you're talking about jeopardy and drama and excitement, you cannot beat straight knockout. And if they had proposed straight knockout, I would be all for it. But I guess straight knockout, there's still two variations. You could go where literally it's the old cup, UEFA Cup Winners' Cup format where everybody is an equal jeopardy, equal race, no seedings. Anybody can play anybody in any round.
Yep. Yep.
Or you could do it like how tennis does and seed everybody. So first seed at the top, second seed right on the other corner of the draw.
Correct.
So I'm not sure I really like the seeding thing. Maybe you could seed it to a point and then have it randomized.
I like it when it's completely randomized. I think
Mm,
for a fan, coming from a fan, I think that's more exciting to watch. Of course, you got to balance it out though with the whole business
yeah, exactly.
thing right
Yeah,
now. I mean, if you only have small teams, your big teams all get knocked out. There's very little fan excitement anymore because the number of fans supporting the smaller teams naturally wouldn't be as big as the number of fans supporting the bigger teams.
Correct. And even though it'll be interesting for the neutral, people aren't going to pay money for that.
That's right. And not to mention, there'll be less games as well. So
Yes. Much
less
fewer games.
TV revenue. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I believe the quality of the games will be much higher because then every game matters, especially if it's one league. Imagine if it's only one league.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, like basically turn it into the FA Cup.
Turn it into the FA Cup.
You
That's right.
you could do it where there are still pots, so different teams enter at different stages. I think that would be much more exciting. I would actually watch a lot more of it.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. That would be my format of choice.
Yeah, they could even maybe literally give the big clubs a choice. Let's say, for sake of argument, the top 8 teams in terms of UEFA coefficient, you're given the choice. You can enter when it's last 32, or 1 or 2 rounds earlier, up to you. So if they want the revenue, they can enter earlier and maybe get knocked out.
That would be a bit messy for the organizers though.
It would be very messy, but I'm just saying that if clubs would be definitely against this format because they say they won't get the revenue. But
yeah, yeah. So you give them the option of getting more revenue. Yeah.
But then balancing out with the jeopardy and
No, but that's interesting. That's
player
interesting,
wellness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You can take the risk to earn more
Yeah.
by playing in an earlier round.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the smaller teams will also be happy with potentially facing a big team earlier. Maybe you get knocked out, higher chance of getting knocked out, but you would get the big game.
Yeah.
And the other flip side is, let's say you're Barcelona in desperate need of money, you tell UEFA, nope, I don't want to buy to the last 32, put me in from the start. That would also mean that one of the smaller teams would then take Barca's place in the last 8.
Yes, yes. That is a decent idea. Another older format that we used to have was the double group system.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was terrible, to be honest. I found the tournament to be so draggy. Like after one group stage, you still have to play another group stage, which is like, oh my gosh.
Yes. So it was from 8 groups to 2 groups or something, to something. This didn't last very long because I spent a few minutes just now saying that a 4-team group stage is good, and I stand by it. But having 2 group stages, like you said, is very draggy, and then you just delay the playoff stage, the knockout stage, which there's the real jeopardy.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a bad idea. One that UEFA also recognized was a bad idea, albeit only after they actually implemented it for a couple of years.
Sometimes you got to do it to know that it sucks. Do you think?
Sometimes.
Do you think, even though that was a bad idea, do you think it's a better idea than the Swiss model? Or do you think the Swiss model is a better idea?
I think they're both sort of equal. Again, the thing I hate most about the Swiss model is that a lot of games will have very little jeopardy. I haven't done the math, but I think even in the double group system, the games would mean more, but it's just, like you say, it feels very draggy. You don't want to progress from a group to play another group.
Yeah, it's so painful.
As a fan, it feels wrong.
Yeah, so I think in terms of how exciting the football was, I mean, in terms of the setup of the tournament, the double group definitely is worse. But my problem with the Swiss model is that it is not as straightforward to understand.
Yes, correct.
From from an ordinary fan. Yeah.
Of all the systems, is by far the most convoluted.
Yes. So, that in itself gives it quite a bit of negative points from me.
Definitely. So,
yep.
Like we said before, this Swiss model, Swiss system, implemented mainly to appease the clubs who wanted a European Super League. Would you then be okay with a big, I won't call it the Super League, but a straight league system, maybe not 32 teams, or not 36 teams, but where everybody plays each other, where there is still promotion and relegation. But like, it's not the same teams year after year after year, which is what those 20 teams have proposed. So the Champions League, that's actually a league.
I think in order to implement a full league system, it would have to be something like what the Super League tried to be, if I were to be fully honest. Because if you were to include, the considerations for the less big teams
Mm.
and all that, it's a very big pool of teams.
Yes, but the teams that proposed the Super League didn't want the small teams there. It was just 20 of not even the most successful, but the richest clubs.
Yeah, I know it's like the Rich Boys Club, right? But
Yeah,
that would work better than a league of everybody,
for
you
sure.
know.
Because if you have 32, 36 teams and everybody plays each other, there's a lot of games. There's no chance
Yes.
to do that plus have your domestic table, your domestic
Yeah.
league.
So I don't think it's realistic.
Yeah,
If you were to keep the domestic obligations there as well.
yeah. What if it's 12 teams? Then then you only play 22 games from start
So
to finish.
are you suggesting that Champions League would only be for the champions?
Yeah, okay. So,
That's
okay, let's
radical thinking, Nas. Radical
yeah,
thinking.
a Champions League for champions. Who would have thought? So, okay, let's just consider, okay, hypothetically 12, right? And you take only the champions from the 12 top leagues. So by my reckoning, England, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, that's the traditional big five, right?
Yep.
You would then have Holland, Belgium, Portugal, Turkey, Scotland, I guess. And there's room for two more. Would that be who am I missing? Like what, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Poland,
Croatia,
Croatia, yes. So like, looking at the UEFA coefficients now of the clubs, uh
Austria, Hungary,
hmm,
Poland.
what's the highest ranked club which I have? Okay, Slavia Praha, okay, from the Czech Republic, are ranked higher than PSV and Marseille.
Okay.
They are ranked higher than Spurs.
Okay.
Dinamo from Croatia are ranked higher than Spurs. So I guess Croatia should be there. What about Greece, Austria? Salzburg is ranked higher than Fenerbahce.
Salzburg is
Hmm.
higher than Fenerbahce.
In terms
Interesting.
of UEFA coefficient. That's quite surprising to me. They're ranked higher than Lyon and Celtic as well, by the way. Which would suggest Austria should be there ahead of Scotland. But anyway, maybe you could still have a qualifying. Maybe you have 8 of the 12 Bs for the top 8 leagues, and then have 8 teams from 8 countries battle for the last 4 spots. Then it's a league. Each game plays 22 games, which is, to be fair, still more than what they would play under the Swiss model, but much easier to understand. And is it more fun? Is it more fair?
It's logistically less feasible, I would say. But I like the idea of just having champions be in the Champions League,
Yeah. Have champions be in the Champions League. Have the cup winners play a cup winners cup.
Cup, Winners' Cup. Wow. Never heard of that before. Hmm.
That was such a fun
But
concept.
no, but yes. No, but it's realistic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. So champions be in the Champions League, you would have a smaller pool of teams, but you can have a format that makes sense. Doesn't have to be a full league, of course.
It'll be very easy to just do 4 groups of 4, 16 teams, only champions.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And of course, to get into the final 16, you have to play some sort of preseason time qualifiers, right? Like what the smaller teams do now anyway.
Exactly. So that wouldn't change. So say the top, by coefficient, the top 6 or 8 don't have to play qualifying, but everybody else does. And
That
it'd be,
that's
to
doable.
me, more, I don't know if it's the right word, but more legitimate than this Swiss model. More easy to understand, more
Mm-hmm.
exciting. Everybody's a champion. Like, that's the sell.
Yeah, that's the sell. Correct.
Whereas
All right.
now, Swiss model. Okay, let's look at some fixtures. Okay, Aston Villa would play Leipzig. They both finished fourth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not champions. When's the last time they won anything? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. They deserve to be in the competition in the format it is in, but
Yes,
they're not champions.
not champions. Yeah. Well, so there you have it.
Do
Our
you
suggestion.
watch? Have you watched? Okay, this might sound very random. Okay, but have you watched Culinary Wars on Netflix?
That's very random.
Yes.
No, I have not.
So Korean food thing. Okay, and one of the judges always makes a point that the way he judges the food is largely based on how you present it. If you're telling him that this is a bibimbap, for example, it has to actually be a bibimbap, even though it tastes amazing. But if it doesn't have the characteristics of a bibimbap, he's not going to give you high marks. So if the Champions League is called the Champions League, but the people that are not champions, I feel annoyed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is not new. It's not a new discussion, right?
Yes, for sure.
That's
Because
that's
yeah,
that's that's because the Champions League has actually been expanding over the years. The
yes,
last 10, 20 years, it's
yes,
been expanding a lot. Every few years at least. So they're finding ways to get more teams in.
more teams, more money.
More teams equals more money.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go round. Okay, so do you agree with what we spoke about for the Swiss model? Did we help you understand the Swiss model a little better? I hope we have enlightened you a little bit so that you are able to understand, the matches that you're watching, and you know what UEFA is trying to do to your team. So Nas, what can we expect from future episodes? Maybe more Man United content?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I feel like every week United are on the verge of sacking that up, So who by the time we edit and publish this episode, United could have a new manager. Who knows?
Who knows,
Yeah.
indeed. Yep. So as much as we would like to bring you various different topics, but if something were to happen at Man United and the ground would shake there, we would definitely be covering that.
Yep, yep. We're also keeping an eye on the Man City charges. They've been in the news this week, winning a decision over the
Yes.
Premier League, though that's not related to the 115 charges that they have. It's a separate thing. That's might be something we look at as well. Maybe we'll do a quiz soon. We haven't done one in a while.
Yes, yes, yes. Quiz on Switzerland, yeah.
Mm.
Yes, what's Switzerland's national carrier? Yep.
Yeah. Shaqiri or Shakira?
Shakiri or Shakira? Should have asked that, man. Okay, so I think that's the end of our Swiss model episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, do give us a follow on Instagram at GameSenseFootball, and do send us emails if you wish at gamesensefootball@gmail.com. So till next time, see ya.
See you guys. You know the best thing about Switzerland?
Hmm.
Their flag is a big plus.